Well, hello everybody. I hope we're well. I hope I'm coming through loud and clear. I'm very excited about tonight's live. I'm always excited about the lives, but this one is a little bit special. So I can't wait for everybody to jump in and say hello. Hi Kathleen, good to have you with us. I hope there are a few more of you lurking. We'll soon get going. I'll just wait a few moments. Hi Diane, hope you're well. I've been waiting ages. I've actually got my technology sorted. Don't speak too soon, but I think I might have. Hi Christine. Hopefully there won't be too many glitches, but never like to tempt fate. So I hope you all had a lovely day. Hi Portia. Good, glad to hear it, Diane. Yeah, I hope you've all had a lovely day. I've been very busy, as always, in my little shop, which is always good. I like being in my shop. I do enjoy being a shopkeeper. It's really nice. I guess I don't know, it stems from childhood. I suppose we all learn how to play shop, don't we? And I'm carrying it on a bit further than childhood. Hello, Rosie. Hi, Joyce. Hi, Pauline. Hi, Angela. Hi, Bethan. So yeah, we've lots to tell you about tonight, lots to give you news about, some dates for your diaries and things like that, if I can remember them. Hello Sue, nice to see you again. So as I say, tonight we're going to be having a further look at the Dies to Dot collection from Creative Expressions. Hi Sheila. Hello Elaine. These have been so popular. We were taken by surprise a little bit. I think Jamie more than me, because I absolutely loved these the minute I saw them. Jamie was a little more not sure if they're going to go down well, but boy, did you love these. I think it was so exciting for so many reasons. There was the new Creative Expressions launch, there was the new collection launch, and with something different as well in die cutting, which was amazing. There was me being back on telly, which was very exciting for me, and everybody seemed happy to see me again, which was really lovely. And thank you all for your lovely messages. They were much appreciated. So yeah, it's been a fabulous run out of the starting blocks, shall we say, and now we've got to follow up on that, haven't we? So as I say, we're going to have another look at this collection, and I'm going to do some demos for you in a little bit more depth, showing you some techniques and things like that, just to spark some inspiration for you, hopefully. So let's just have a look, if you're not familiar already, at this lovely collection. So it's a set of 8 dies, all a range of sizes, a range of themes. Initially you might look and think, oh, it's a Christmas collection. It's really not. There are only really 2 things in this collection which are festive. So yeah, it's a good all-rounder. Things for every day, birthdays, weddings, celebrations, you name it. You can do really fancy, you can do quite plain and simple. It's a really, really versatile collection. And the more I've been using it, the more I've realised how versatile it really is. And we've got a little bit of everything from focal points here in the smaller sets up to big layering dies, nesting dies, frames, etc., and embellishments and everything in between. So it's amazing. So there are 8 die sets, and we're going to start having a look at the snowflake, which I think proved to be possibly the most popular. It's a good price point at $12.99. It has a lot of detail, and it's a good size. I'll give you the measurements. It's just over 4 inches in diameter. So even if you like to do small cards, this is going to be suitable. But obviously then you can build it if you like to do lots of mats and layers and nests and frames and whatever you want to do on it, you can do that as well. You can cut it, split it, do quite modern things with it, as you might have seen me do last week. So yeah, this is our beautiful snowflake, and I'll just show you a couple of examples with this one. So this is one that Jamie did in navy, silver and white, which is really spectacular, quite clean and simple, featuring that snowflake front and centre, and obviously also bringing in some of his nesting layering dies, scalloped, pierced, plain squares, but sticking with that lovely colour scheme. So that's, you know, fairly straightforward. I think most people could achieve that. So a really beautiful example. Here's the one I did last week, showing a slightly different style, slightly more modern perhaps, clean. I've chopped a bit off the snowflake, and I've used one of the, it's actually one of the flowers, but it can be used to look like a snowflake. So that's using it in a slightly different way. This is a smaller card, and it's flat apart from that snowflake, but that could have been flat. So, you know, a very versatile, really beautiful die, very elegant, and of course featuring those wonderful little dots. When you cut these dies out, you get dots. Boy, do you get dots. So I don't know if my camera is that, you can just about, you can certainly see it on this one. These perhaps a little more difficult, but there, at each little detail there is a little circular dot that's sunken in, and that's where you are able to put your crystals or your pearls or glitter glue or pearl glue or anything else that you can fit into that little well. You can decorate these with, but you don't have to. Showing this one, there is no decoration on that. Hello! Oh, we have a lady, Charlene from Canada. How wonderful of you to join us. I'm sure you're a lot more familiar with snow than even we are here in the UK. I suppose it depends where you live, but I was thinking of Canada, parts of Canada being really snowy. So yes, this would be wonderful, wouldn't it? It is a beautiful snowflake, and I think, you know, affordable, but still, even though it's just one shape, you can still do a lot with it. Don't forget as well, with any die cut, you can create a stencil with it. So if you cut this out of cardstock and then ink through it, you can create the sort of negative effect of the snowflake, if you like. You can do that with most dies. You can create your own sentiments. Sentiments? That'd be stretching it a bit. Your own stencils. So there we are. That's the fabulous snowflake. Now let's have a look at these beautiful flowers. I have my boards. I forgot to show you my snowflake, but here are the boards for the flowers. I've put gems on all of mine. Now this set comes in at $14.99 retail. So I think it's a really good price, again, because of its versatility. So this is a built-up one, but these are 5 shapes that you get in the set, and where I've put the crystals is exactly where the dots are embossed, so you can see how much detail you can actually go in and add to each of these little flowers. This one is lovely for a flower centre, and I've done it sometimes with a larger gem in the middle. The little indent that you get is actually for a 3mm, but there's nothing to stop you putting a bigger one in there if should you wish. Yeah, I'm sorry about the background, Joyce. I can't do anything about it. It's my laptop, so we're stuck with that, I'm afraid. I have got a microphone which I've teamed up, so hopefully it's not as bad as normal, but I can't stop it. It's the fan, so I can't do anything about that. Really sorry. So as I was saying, you get 3 sizes of this flower, and you can see where all the little dots belong. And then if you wish to build up a much bigger flower, this one has 2 layers of this one, 1 layer of this one, 1 layer of this one, 1 layer of that one, and the centre. But you can make any combination, and also you don't have to dot them. So let's have a look at some of the flowers. So this is a really pretty one, and this hasn't been dotted, but the flowers have still got that lovely detail, so they do have texture, which is really nice as well. But they just make beautiful flowers, and so you can use them in any of your floral arrangements and for your finishing touches. Let's have a look at a couple more. This one is going to feature the beautiful snowflake, and those have all been crystalled, and you can see exactly how easy it's going to be, because those little dots, they're present on the cardstock when it's been die cut. Then you just put your dots where those are. Trying to get those in straight lines, it wouldn't happen for me. I'd be there for an hour trying to do one leg. So I think it's great. It's such a brilliant concept, and it's really achievable for everybody, and I think that's super. So this is also featuring the fabulous lattice square, which is coming up in the background. So I'll show you that in a little while, but I just wanted to show you a few more featuring the flowers. Here we go with a stunning big bloom. Isn't that just beautiful? And it might look really complicated, but it's not that bad, honestly. This is one Jamie's done, and he likes to pinch the petals so that they come upwards. I tend to curl mine from the back so that they come up and out, and that gives 2 different looks completely. If you have a look at this one, you can see how different that one looks from this one. So yeah, really beautiful set. You can mix and match the layers as much as you like. Here's another one showing that lovely big flower. I think this has only got 2 layers of the big size and 1 of the next size down, so you don't really have to be going too complicated with these, but if you like to build flowers, you can certainly do that. So there we go, that's our lovely flowers. All right, so those are going to be retailing at $14.99 for you. So let's move on to our dot panels. I absolutely love these. Absolutely love these. Such a clever idea. It reminds me of Punchinella. You know, the waste you get from sequins. It's very much like that. And if I could find my board, I'd show you what they look like. Here we go. So dot panels, you've got 3mm holes in this one and 6mm holes in this one. So don't forget, not only do you get your cut out, but you get your dots as well. So you can use these for dotting your shapes and flowers and snowflakes and anything else you want to dot. So that's how they come. They're quite big. And the other lovely thing about these is they've no outside cutting edge, so you can extend these. You can see how they cut into the card, and they leave a border as wide as you like, or you can snap it back into place, overlap a couple of rows and continue to cut. So you can make them wider, you can make them longer. You can use these on scrapbook pages to create borders. And Sharon, you've just taken the word out of my mouth. I would be using these on my jelly plate as a kind of stencil to lay down some texture as well. So again, super versatile, and I just want to show you something I made with this particular set. So I had this idea of making a belly band, and I then decided I was going to do it around a candle. So, and using that lovely flower there as well. This has a double skin of cardstock, because if you don't, you're sticking the gems directly onto the candle. And obviously, if you ever want to light the candle, that's not very safe. So this is actually loose and can be slid off the candle if you want it to light it. So that's a really fabulous idea, particularly if you might be somebody who sells at craft fairs, or if you want a gift for teacher or something like that. You can certainly do these really inexpensively, especially if you copped that deal on the Gems and Pearls bundle on Sunday. I mean, that was unbelievable. They did fly out, and I'm not sure how much of them are left, but they were phenomenal. So, you know, it's not going to cost you an arm and leg to decorate that, but how expensive does it look? It looks brilliant. So that's just one little idea. You could certainly do a belly band around a book, if that's something you enjoy doing as well. So lots and lots of uses for these. So that's your dot panels, and those retail for £12.99, which I think you'll agree is a bit of a bargain. Right then, let's have a look at the small flourishes. I love this set. I absolutely love it. They're elegant, they're usable, they're neutral, they're not anything in particular. I mean, yes, this could be a ribbon bow, this could be a bow, but really they can be anything you want them to. It's that thing again, isn't it, where you put it into something, into a sample of a certain style, and it's the suggestion of what you're making it look like that works. So here we have them dotted. All of this has been done with the 3D pearl effects that we had also in a bundle. I know these are still available. A lot of the retailers have probably bought them, so you can pick up a super bargain on those, and they're really good ones. I mean, I've had hit and miss with these sorts of products in the past, but I really love these. I can actually use them, so that's good. It always helps. So the only thing that hasn't is that gem in the middle of that one there, but the rest is all those 3D pearl effects, and they are 3D. They leave it nicely raised. So yeah, I think that's a really lovely set. So let me show you a bit of inspiration from that. So I have one here made by Sharon. I think Sharon? Yes. And I love this. It's really sort of dramatic, isn't it, with the black, red and white and the crystals and everything. It's gorgeous. We've got that snowflake in the background, cut in half, as I was talking about, snipping it up. So yeah, two halves, and then these two beautiful flourishes, and gemmed in crystal and red. What a beautiful winter birthday card that would make. Absolutely beautiful. So thank you, Sharon. And here's another one showing how you can actually dangle something from the swirl, and we've got a bauble dangling on that one, and then some of those beautiful pearls around the outside of this one as well. And just one more to show you with this one, which was from Emma, and Emma has used gilding flake here. I would imagine that what she's done is made a sheet of gilding flake and then die cut this flourish from that. So again, another way to use it, and again, hanging a bauble from it is a lovely way to make use of that. So those are our small swirls. I think they, let me just check the price, £16.99 for those. So you're getting 4 of those in that packet for £16.99. So there we go. And then let's have a look at the large swirls. Now these are big dollars, as I like to say. Big, big, big dies. This largest one is just over 4 by just over 5. Obviously it's difficult to give an accurate measurement of something that's a flourish, but about just over 4 by just over 5 inches. And then this one is almost 3 inches by almost 6. So 3 is going to be the widest point and 6 the longest point. And when these are cut, they're very delicate. So they are really dainty. Even though they're big, they don't take over wherever you put them. And also, of course, you can snip these up, as Jamie mentioned in his Monday Night Live. you can snip these and just use part of it and make a smaller flourish out of them, which is amazing. So these have got, again, they've got spots to add gems or pearls or whatever you want to add to them, and they're all imprinted when you cut that die. It's one process. Those little dots are imprinted as you cut, and then you've got the little circular spaces to be able to put your embellishments. So absolutely super. So those are your large swirls, and those are going to be retailing for $22.99, but there's a lot of metal, there's a lot of dye in these, in that fantastic Creative Expressions bronze metal. I love that colour, and it stands out because there aren't very many companies, if any, that do their dyes in this colour, so you'll know straight away whose it is. All right, let's have a look at some cards featuring the flourish. This is one I tried to demo it on Sunday. I didn't get much of it done, but hey ho, that's live telly for you. So this is using the whole flourish to sit my bauble in front of. So you can see there's just bits of it peeking out. So it doesn't have to be the feature, it can be something else. This is the smaller of the two, and this is another card that Jamie's done, and he's used it here to sit some flowers on and a little dragonfly. Isn't that stunning? And it's got a bit of a steampunky feel to it, so yeah, you could certainly add it in with some of Jamie's steampunk collection if you have that already. Again, Jamie's really good at carrying through his themes and making sure that you've always got something in the new collection that's going to bring back something from your old collection and work perfectly together. So have a look through what you might already have, and if you like steampunk, that's certainly one that you could add into that collection. But it doesn't have to be, it's just a beautiful flourish. It's almost like a fern to me, a curly fern, I think, with lovely fronds and what have you. So there we go. It's what you see, isn't it? Everybody sees different things. And this one is absolutely gorgeous. And it might look very complex, but it's really not. If you break it down into its components, the background is scored. I would say probably every maybe ½ inch. And then the flourish has been used twice to create this gorgeous movement on the front of the card. And then that lovely big flower. Now this one's been decorated to the nth degree with pearls. Absolutely beautiful. And finished off with a stunning little dragonfly that came out with the patchwork collection. So those are your large swirls. I hope you agree they're really beautiful, and I think you'll find they're very useful as well. And those are $22.99 for the large swirls. So now we've got the baubles. This was another phenomenally popular set. Well, they all were. I mean, the whole bundle just went mental, didn't it? But if you were, you know, cherry picking, this was the one that went really rapidly. So you get 3 baubles, all beautiful detail on them, different styles, slightly different shape on this one, large and small circles, but lots of detail, lots of filigree, floral, absolutely gorgeous. And when these are cut, again, they're quite delicate, so you've got fine lines, and again, when you cut them, you do get all the little dots, which is where you put your gems, pearls, etc., as we've said. So I think these are stunning, and I did find myself gravitating towards these quite a lot. Well, Sarah, if you have trouble giving them away, you'll just have to make 2. That's always the problem, isn't it? I have that problem as well. But I'm going to give some away tonight, so keep an eye out for, or an ear out for, a question that will allow somebody to win something tonight that I've made. All right, so our baubles are going to retail for $21.99. You are getting 3 of them, so, you know, again, value for money, and it's about usability, isn't it? It's no point buying a die that you can only use once or for one thing, or, you know, whatever it might be. And I know I showed last week a card that Jamie made showing this bauble. If you take the cap off it, it's just a beautiful decorative circle, and it can go any orientation, and you could use that for absolutely anything. So they're your baubles, and they're retailing for you at £21.99. Okay, and then we have our two largest sets. This one is the lattice square, and it is a big one. It's 7 inches in total, 1/6 cut. It is a set of 2 dies. It has a fancy edge with the little circles dotted there for you. If you use that on its own, you'll get a square panel with a decorative edge. If you cut the two together, this is what you can get. So it will bring the lattice panel, and then it still has that fancy edge to it. But without the lattice panel, the middle of that would just be a plain solid panel, and then you could mat and layer on top of that. So you could bring in any of the other squares that Jamie's done, or you might like to mix up your circles with it, do different mats and layers together. So that is the lattice square. Now again, with the die like this, if you don't cut it with the outside edge, it will only cut that pattern into the card and leave it as a pattern, and the edge won't be cut. So this border can be as wide as you like, or you can frame it with a different set of frames, perhaps from the layering dies, or you can cut this, make it smaller. There's no reason why not. You can also make it bigger. So again, because it's a regular repetitive pattern, you can cut it once, you can move the die along, and you can cut it again, and create something maybe to go around a box, or maybe for a scrapbook page or something like that. So that's really exciting when you have a die like this. And don't ever be afraid to chop it. If you decide to cut the centre out, which I'm going to show you this in one of my demos, but I'll just give you a hint right now. If you want to cut the centre out, then you can achieve a really beautiful pattern, and that can go either way. It can become horizontal and vertical, or it can still be the diamond shape. But you do then need to create a frame with it, and that's where the next set of dies comes in, the dotty bumpy squares. So let's have a look at those. So your lattice square is going to be £27.99 to buy. And finally we have indeed our bumpy squares, which is this one here. A set of 10 nesting dies with bumpy sides, and dots are all the way around every single one of them, so that you can frame it with crystals, frame it with pearls, whatever you like. Oh, Sharon, that's a fab idea. She's going to put it around a wedding post box. I love that idea. So this can go as you would think of as a square, but don't forget, you can just tilt that and it becomes a completely different shape. It becomes on the point like a diamond, and you can twist them, so you can have some square and some on a diamond. So let me tell you how much those will be to buy. £32.99, which for 10 dies, it might sound a lot, but it's a good investment. So some of you seem to be having trouble finding the live. Don't forget, we are now always going to be on the Creative Expressions page. So if you've been looking on Jamie Rogers Crafts page, you won't find us there, I'm afraid. We've moved. I don't know about you, but technology flummoxes me. It gets the better of me every time. Right, what was I going to show you? Oh yeah, bumpy squares. Here's a beautiful example of simply matting and layering two of those bumpy squares, one in gold, one in cream, and then adding the baubles on top. And this one's been decorated with pearls. And again, trying to edge something like that without those little embossed dots would be nigh on impossible. I think, well, I wouldn't even attempt it. So, yeah. But that's, you know, I've got a lot of patience, but sometimes I think, no, that's just a step too far. And here's a really beautiful example with our lattice square. those lovely bumpy squares turned to the diamond, and just the small sizes make a lovely centre, don't they? Now this one's been dotted with the dots that come out of the dot panel. So if you put your dot panel in gold, you'll get all those little circles in gold that you can then add to the dots. So everything in this collection is going to mix and match across every part of it. Oh, excuse me. I was just trying to find some more with the bumpy squares. Here we are. This one's beautiful. This is a fray created with two sizes of the bumpy square. Now in the centre there is part of that trellis panel which has been cut with the bumpy square to fit that shape. So that's really nice, isn't it, to be able to use it that way. But you could equally have it that way. Obviously you wouldn't want your card to be on the diamond, but you get the idea. So I think you'll agree, these are really stunning and give so much scope for your creativity to take flight. Now I'm going to come and say hello to a few people because I've been missing in action. Hello! How are we all? Hi! Oh gosh, lots of comments. I hope I haven't missed any important questions. Yes, Charlene says she loves the interchangeability. It's so true. You can find something in every collection that works with something from another collection, can't you? And I just love that. And it makes your money go further because you buy things that you know you're going to use again. Sometimes we buy things because we love them, but then perhaps we find they've got limited use or with nothing else that goes with them, or you know the story. We've all done it. So lovely to have all of you with me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm sorry some of you seem to have had trouble. You're not the only ones. I'm surprised I'm here, to be honest. Oh, hi, and Jamie's in the house as well. I'm glad Lou's found us as well, yes. It is frustrating, isn't it? But I don't know. Is there an easy answer? Just keep pressing those buttons. Okay. The crafty wish list is huge. Yes, and I must say, the collection sold out so quickly, it took us all by surprise. Because we had a big stock. We did have a massive stock. And even the reserve stock had to be put in, and that went. The stockists have already had their orders, so they were accounted for. So if you have a local stockist, hi Glitterbits, Crafts and Gifts, have you got stock of this collection? We need to support our local stockists. I have ordered mine. I'm on an extended delivery as well. I couldn't get in quick enough to get the first batch, but they're going to be with us around about the 18th of August, I think. So it's only a couple of weeks, not that much of a wait. I know you're all impatient probably to get started, but everything's worth the wait, isn't it? So yeah, as I say, extended delivery now, but you will get them. So check out your local stockists because they may have them already. They may still have stock, and they've also hopefully got the gems and the 3D pearl accents in. They were just such fantastic prices. I mean, I showed the whole bundle, didn't I, last time? Got the price wrong, sorry about that, but it was still a bargain at 10 quid. So it was 12 packets like this with I don't know how many thousands of gems, 3mm and 6mm, and then pearls, all different colours, absolutely stunning. Oh, hi Sarah. Oh, look at you. She's got Craft Bliss as her local stockist, and I'm going to be going there very soon. I'm so excited. It'll be lovely to meet you, Sarah. It really will. Let me put my face back on. Hello. Yeah, so I'm going to be down at Craft Bliss in August. And I've already got the collection. I've got a brand new, well, I'm probably going to have two brand new collections to show with you that day. And I've also probably going to be showing a little bit of this one if we've time. So we'll have to see how the day goes, won't we? Yeah, it's dead good, dead good. All right, so what haven't I told you about? Nothing product wise. So shall we have a bit of inspiration? Shall we do a bit of a demo? let's do that. Okay, so I've got a card here, and I'm going to show you how to do, hopefully, all the steps. Here we go. So this is featuring, lots of goodies. The large lattice square with the edge to cut that background panel. The bumpy squares, and I've used these to create a frame, a double frame. That's my thing. I love doing double frames. Mats and layers as well. And we've got one of the baubles there as a feature. But this is the interesting bit. Well, it's all interesting, but this is something different that you might not have seen done on acetate. So where shall we start? Let's start with the acetate, because that's exciting. It's all exciting. I don't know where to start. It's too fun, too much fun. All right, so I've got a piece of acetate here, and I'm going to be using, sorry about the reflection, it's not very elegant, is it? I'm going to be using the 3D Pearl Effects in the red and the gold onto the acetate. Now, I don't know if you saw me do this last week onto a piece of card, but you'll remember me saying that you need to find some sort of stippling brush. This is not as hard as a stencil brush. It's much more flexible. It's good if it's all a bit splayed, because you get a better distribution of the product, and it's easy to wash out as well. So you can get like little shaving brushes which people use for blending. I don't know if they're still available, maybe not these days, but a little shaving brush would be good if you can't find a stippling brush. But yeah, this is the sort of brush I like to use for this technique. You can always use your finger. It's not, you don't have to have a brush like this, put it that way. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is squirt on some of the 3D Pearl Effects. Not too much. We keep saying this, don't we? You can add more, but it's very difficult to take away. And I want to try to focus the gold in the middle. So I'm just squirting it on, and then I'm going to distribute it by stippling it with this brush. You could use a little piece of sponge, that would do it as well. You might not get the same texture, but you would get some texture. Like I say, nothing is set in stone. It's about playtime, it's about seeing what happens, what if. I'm a firm believer of what if. And that's genuinely how I've discovered a lot of what I know, is by not being scared of having a go. I don't know why we talk ourselves out of doing things and having fun, because it is fun. All right, and then I'm going to take the red around the edge of that. Now I'm going to blend across the boundary between the two. So I'm bringing the red into the gold a little bit. Hope you can see my hand's in the way, isn't it? Sorry, it's really tricky this. Now it's quite pale. You can always add more if you want to intensify the colour. I think I probably will do. Just try to make sure you don't leave any obvious sort of patchiness. Blend it out. Now I don't know if you can see that. Can you see the texture on it? I'm going to add a bit more because I want it a little bit more pronounced. So I'm going to go in and add a bit more gold and just repeat that process. I don't want it too dark because I don't want it to obliterate the bauble. The bauble is going to be the feature. This is just the background. Now you can do this, I'm doing it on acetate because these are actually a glue. So they're going to dry on lots of surfaces. And on acetate you get that lovely pearlescent finish with them. You will see it quite clearly. But I'm also going to add into this some of the beautiful gemstone glitter. So let's get a bit more red going on. So now I have a bit more idea of how much I want to add. I can go for it. Another top tip about these, I always store mine upside down. If you have a look at my little pot here, they're all upside down. That just keeps them ready to go and prevents any air bubbles settling near the nozzle, because they'll tend to rise up to the base of the pot if they're upside down. So just a top tip there for storage. Okay, now I'm going to take this to the corners. I'm going to die cut from this piece of acetate. So, oh, I've disappeared. There we are. The edges don't matter too much, and of course I'm then going to put a frame over it. So, yeah, that's going to help as well. So on my original sample, I actually used the gold glitter and this one, the rose quartz glitter, because that's what I had in the bundles. But I'm going to be naughty tonight, and I'm going to use the gold and the red, because the red was from the Christmas collection, wasn't it? So I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit of these glitters into their relative colours. I don't want too much. I've got a bit of a dot there, don't like that. So what I can do is disperse the glitter as well with my brush. If I've got too much, just spread it out a little bit. There we go. And then a little bit of the red, and then we're going to set that aside to dry, and that's it. The background is done. Okay. I'm going to blend that out a little bit more. Let me just dry my brush because it's stuck in water at the minute. So when I've washed my brush, I give it a really good squeeze on an old, I've got an old towel, and I squeeze most of the water out because I don't want to actually water down the pearl effects. So I just want to disperse that glitter a little bit. I should have sprinkled it with my fingers, but I was just being lazy. There we go. It's not too bad. It's a bit too circular, but you get the idea. As long as you get the idea. The only other thing I would say is just make sure to release it from the paper so that it doesn't stick, and then set that aside and let that dry. Okay. And in true Blue Peter style, I have one I did earlier. And I've already cut one of the bumpy squares. Can you see the sparkle on that now? Isn't it lovely? So what I did, I stuck it to a piece of white card and then used the bumpy squares to cut through both layers. So they are attached together and they're die cut to the same shape. Okay. Then the next thing I needed to do was create the framework and the panels for the rest of it. So I wanted to sit it on a bigger one. This is the beauty of nesting dies, isn't it? You can build up your patterns. So I've got it on a bigger one. Now the edge of this looks a mess because my acetate's cut short here and here, but because I was going to add a frame to it, that didn't really bother me too much. So let me show you what I've done with these dies. So this one is the third largest, and I've cut the plain panel and I've got that on foam. You don't have to raise it up on foam if you don't want to. This is the next size down. Okay. And so to create the frame for this, this is going to be the outside edge of my frame. And then I need the next size down to cut them together so that I achieve a frame like that. Now to do my double frame, I'm going to take out the smaller of those two and bring in the next size down and cut those two together so that I achieve this, which is a wider frame, and then I'm going to nest those two together. So I'm going to add this frame onto this frame, and then both of those onto my acetate panel to keep it all nice and tidy. And there you have the arrangement for those bumpy squares. So, oh hi Stacey, lovely to have you with us. That's our lovely Stacey from Scrapbooking Made Simple. How fantastic. So any of you lovely people in America looking to buy these products, I'm sure Stacey will be sending those out to your local retailers, and you'll be able to get your hands on those as well. Fantastic to have you, Stacey. Welcome. So that's how I've done the nesting frames, the double frame and the acetate. So that's given me the main sort of focal element, if you like, not the focal element, the main central panel for the card. Okay. And then I've done the bauble. So let me show you how to go about this. All right. I have got 2 baubles cut from white cardstock because I wanted this to have a little bit more rigidity and a little bit more oomph. One single snowflake, it kind of disappears a little bit. It's not quite got the presence. If you stack 2 die cuts together, it gives it a bit more solidity and just gives it a bit more presence on your project. So that's what I'm going to do. So I've got one already cut. I've got 2 already cut, but one's still in the die. So I've left this one in the die and I've taken out all the little pieces that I didn't need. And the reason I've done that is because I want to stack them together, and I find it easier to do it in the die than trying to do it, you know, freehand. So what I'm going to do is take some of Jamie's glue, his fabulous dry as clear glue, and I'm using a little bit of cut and dry, but you can equally use a piece of foam. You could use a foam blending tool, anything you like that you can use for glue. And I'm going to put the glue onto the front of this one because I'm going to then turn it over and stick it the front to back on the one that's in the die. Okay, so let's pick up this glue and let's tap this all over the front of our die cut. Now this is another thing you could do. You could glue the front of this die cut and then sprinkle it with glitter. You could glue the front of it with the flake and glitter glue and then flake it. But I do find doing it that way, you don't get quite such a clean finish as if you create the sheet of glitter or gilding flake first and then die cut through it. So that's just something to think about should you want to do a gilded or glittered bauble. All right, now I'm going to attach this, and they will lock in perfectly together. And by doing the gluing on the bauble the way you've just watched me do it, there isn't too much excess, so it's not going to get all squeezed into the die, but even if it does, it will just wash off. It won't harm your die. So there we have 2 now stacked together, giving that bauble just that little bit more oomph and a little bit more presence on the project. So let's poke that out of the die now. You probably won't be able to see an awful lot of difference, but there are 2 definitely together there, and it just, I don't know, it just gives it a bit more body. And then of course we can bring in our fantastic crystals and we can begin to decorate this. So I've got the 3mm multicoloured rainbow panel here, and I'm just going to begin to attach some gems to the bauble. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you watch me do all of it. I have got one already done. So let's just slide these off and dot them into those little embossed circles, which are perfectly placed to create the most superb decorated filigree bauble. I think you'll agree these are stunning when they're decorated up. You could do multiple colours of these gems. You don't have to only do them in one colour. That's just what fit my project. But you could certainly use all of the colours and do rainbow baubles. Why not? I mean, that would be stunning, wouldn't it? Or maybe you like, you know, two-tone. Maybe you'd like to go golden red as we've done on the background, and use golden red on the border as well. But this is so easy to do, and it's a little bit like, as we said earlier, sparkle art meets die cutting. It's really lovely to have that restful, peaceful few minutes while you just sit and add a few gems or add a few pearls. It's quite mindful, quite relaxing. You can go away and leave it. It's not going to take any harm if you don't finish it all off at the same time. But hopefully you can see now how quickly this can come together. Let me just pop that behind it so you can see how quickly that's going to come together. Isn't that pretty? It's beautiful. Alright, so obviously you'd finish doing gems on all of that, or pearls, or whatever you're wanting to add to your bauble. On this occasion I am using the crystals. So then we have our background to have a look at. So let's just pop these to one side for now. There's a lot going on this card, but it's all perfectly cohesive. Everything comes together and none of it is too difficult. So you can have a look here and see how I've got that beautiful lattice square with its edge. I've cut them at the same time, and then I've got glitter behind that. So let's show you how I've achieved that. So this has been cut with the outer edge and the lattice panel, if you remember from the die. I tend to cut, I'll be honest, I tend to cut the edge first because it is such a big die. Sometimes the machine might struggle with it a little bit. So if you have a look at this, what I've done is I've taken this edge die and cut a white square. So I got a white square with that embossed dotted edge. Once I'd done that, I then took the centre panel and put it onto the white square, and then I cut the trellis. But that's my machine. Mine's an old machine, and it needed doing in 2 stages. But it might help you if you struggle to do it all in one. It certainly can be done all in one. But my machine just wasn't handling it very well. So there we are. It threw its dummy out. Okay, let me grab some paper for my glitter. I'm going to use that stunning rose quartz gemstones glitter from Jamie Rogers Crafts. I have some double-sided adhesive already pre-cut to size that I can put behind this panel. So I'm going to take away one of the sides of the protective paper. So this is the sort of waxy release paper, and this is now revealing our adhesive. Now I'm going to put that down, making sure that the side that was facing the sticky is uppermost, and then I'm going to turn my die cut panel face down. I'm doing that so that when I then place this onto the back of my lattice square, it doesn't stick to the surface underneath it because I've put the release paper in place. And so I can stick this down without any worries that it's going to attach itself to something it shouldn't. Okay. My hands are very warm tonight, I don't know. It's sticking to everything. Let's give that a really good firm burnish. I'm just using my bone folder to make sure there aren't any air bubbles or wrinkles in that. And then when I turn this over, I can take away that release paper. And now all those little apertures are sticky. So now I can apply the beautiful gemstones glitter, and this could be any colour. It could be a mixture of colours, it could be a rainbow effect through this panel. There are so many ways to do this. I'm just going to use one colour. I'm going to shake it on. It doesn't matter if there's too much because you can gather back any extra. And then I'm going to spread this through this lovely lattice with a little sponge. This is the sort of sponge that we tend to use with our gilding flake. It works brilliantly for glitter as well, and it's a lot less messy than trying to do it with your fingers. So there we are, and it's, you know, you can push that glitter around. It's surprising how far it goes, and you don't really need a lot. You might need a tiny bit with a big panel like this might just get enough out of that to fill that panel. Okay, there we are. Tap off that extra, and then we can just clean up. Sometimes I find it easier to use a little brush. So I'm just going to get a little brush and clean up the edge. That's an easy way to do it. And then you can gather back any excess you've got on your paper back into the jar. So it's not wasteful at all, and it goes a very long way, this glitter, and you do get an awful lot in these bottles, I have to say. I'm just going to get rid of that. Okay, so let's go back to the one I'd already done. So this has got the panel already attached now to the background card. So this was a 7.5-inch square card, and it's now got that beautiful lattice panel attached to it with the glitter sparkling through it. Isn't that just beautiful? I love that effect. Alright, so that's our background, and then we can bring in all of these elements that we were looking at earlier and start to build our panel. So I'm going to put on, first of all, the largest of the bumpy squares. Now again, you might be looking at this and thinking, oh my goodness, you've covered most of that up. Yes, I have. And if you want it to be frugal, you could certainly take the middle out. Remember what we said about cutting out the centre and then finishing off, tidying it up with a frame so that you don't see the cut edges. So that's certainly something you could do if you've created a panel like this and you don't want to cover up most of it. But at the end of the day, I always think, you know, it's a piece of card, it's a bit of glitter. I'm not overly worried about covering it up, but equally, you know, you could get a second project from it. Alright, so let's get this in place. I'm going to try to get it centered. Okay, there we go. Then I'm going to bring in the panel with the acetate and the pearled and glittered finish to it. Do you know, I don't know where the time goes when we're doing these lives. It just whizzes past. I do have such fun that the time just goes. So there's the acetate panel, and then I'm going to glue on the frames. Now I've stuck them both together and I've already added the gems. I just left a few to do just to show you, although I've already shown you on the bauble, but I'm just going to finish off adding these gems to my frame. And that is so beautiful. I can't get over it. I can't get over this concept. It's so simple and it's so elegant. I don't know why nobody's ever thought of it before, but thank goodness we've got our Jamie who's thought of it and developed it and brought it to us. That's just brilliant. Alright, so this is going to go down with glue onto the acetate. Jamie's glue will help stick it to acetate, so no worries there. But if you are concerned, you could always use the super sticky red liner tape. That's good for sticking things to acetate as well. Obviously, being acetate, it's non-porous, so it will take longer for it to actually dry. So just set it aside and give it plenty of time to attach. But I think you can see already this is coming together in a really pretty way. Yeah, it's going to be sort of skating around a little while, that, till it grabs, so we'll just try to leave it. And then I've got the bauble fully gemmed here now, and it's got that double thickness to it. And I've also got here some little white dots. Can you see? And what I did, I cut a panel, the dot panel, in white cardstock and created white dots. And I want these because I want to add a string for the bauble, and I wanted it to be to look sort of like a chain. So I'm just going to add some dots of glue here. And then I'm going to use my sticky pickup tool to bring in these little white circles. So we can start to build something to dangle the bauble from. Now again, even doing this, getting it straight, you know, it's not the easiest thing. My frame's moved. That's not helpful. Stay there, you naughty little frame. So what I did was grab a little piece of card. She says desperately looking for one. Or a ruler or something like that. And just nudge those into a straight line. And try and get them running down the centre as best you can. You could draw a little line if you wanted to. But there we go. I'm happy with that, so I'm going to leave it well alone. Okay. The glue's starting to grab now. If you do get any marks on your acetate, just gently wipe it. It will come off if you get it while it's still wet. So it's not the end of the world. And now I've got my lovely gemmed bauble, and I can just add the glue to this in the normal fashion. And again, I don't necessarily glue every section of this. I just tend to put it where there's a solid part. It's not going to go anywhere, and you run less risk of it oozing out if there's not so much of it. So we can now add that to the bottom of our little dangles. And there we are, a beautiful bauble on acetate with lots of sparkles going on. It's nice, isn't it? And none of that was tricky. Well, I hope you didn't think it was tricky. I'd love it if you'd have a go. I'm just making sure that's attached before I move it and it skids off into the distance, because that, you know, that's not good. So there we are. So that's our first little example. So very shimmery, very sparkly. You've got a combination of the 3D pearl and the glitter in that background, and easy to do, absolutely easy to do. So somebody could win this tonight. I'm going to set you a question, and it's something I mentioned while I was doing that card. I wanted to know, or sorry, what I would like to know is, what did I say was one of my favourite techniques, or one of my favourite things to do? And it was involved in that card. So I hope you were listening. It might be slightly tricky, that question, but we'll see who comes up with an answer. And if you don't, I'll give you a clue. All right, so that's the first idea that I wanted to share with you. So let me just have a bit of a tidy. Ooh, don't things get in a pickle? And I'll come back and say a few hellos. I've got the wrong specs on. Hello. All right, how are we all doing? We're still here. I think this collection is going to be one of the fastest selling and most popular that we've had in a long time. And it's so lovely that this has come from Creative Expressions, their launch collection. I think it's just wonderful. And thanks all for getting on board. And yeah, staying with us. It's going to get more and more exciting as we go along. So yeah, the brush technique's good, isn't it? And you can do that with lots of other products as well, not just sort of pearl glue, or you could do it with glitter glue. You don't have to do it with pearl glue and put glitter in. You could actually do it with glitter glue. I think the trick is to disperse it evenly, get some nice texture into it, don't overdo it. That's how I feel about it anyway, but you do you. Okay, so what can I tell you about? Oh, where have you gone? Oh, do you know, I'm hopeless. Jamie will be doing his Monday Night Live next week. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be with you next week. I'm sorry, but I'm having a holiday. So my husband and I will be scooting off up to the Scottish Highlands and having a week in a lodge on the shores of a loch. And I can't wait. I'm going to do not a lot. We'll probably go out and do a little bit of walking, and just relaxing and recharging. And the weather forecast's not great, but that's okay. We'll find something fun to do. So that's why I won't be with you next week, so I'm so sorry. But I'll be back the week after, obviously. And we've got lots of exciting things coming up to tell you about as well. So, shall we do another demo? Time's getting on. I'm conscious I tend to waffle a lot, but I would like to show you some more inspiration. So let's have another look at another sample. This one, it does feature the baubles again, but that's because it's one of the most beautiful sets that I've ever seen. Siobhan, we're going to, it's somewhere west of Fort William, about 40 miles west of Fort William, a place called Highland Council. And apparently if you forget your milk, you've had it, because it's a long way to go to pick it up. So I've got shopping lists and lists of this and lists of that. And yes, Sharon, I've got the midge spray. Oh, Jamie's going to do Thursday Night Live for you. How wonderful. So you'll get Jamie twice next week. That's absolutely brilliant. Lucky you. I might tune in if I'm allowed, if hubby doesn't spit his dummy out. Not that he does, but you know, we are on holiday, so we'll see. I might come and say hello if I get 5 minutes, if we're not in the pub or, you know, somewhere else. Okay, so I'm going to start another sample now. Okay, here we go. So this is the one I'd like to show you. Ooh, what could you do on Thursday, Jamie? I wonder. There we are. So lots of bits and bobs, but again, nothing complicated, nothing you can't achieve yourself. It's just a matter of having a go. Don't be scared, have a go. So we've got baubles on our baubles, and we've got squares and trellises, and I don't know what's going on here. So let's begin. All right, so this first centre panel I have cut with, or I'm going to cut, sorry, with the outside edge of the lattice panel. So this is the outside edge here. And I'm going to just pop that onto my card. I'm going to tape it so it doesn't go skew-whiff in the machine. And then I'm going to run that through, and I'm going to put it on a bit of an angle. So rather than running it through the machine dead straight, if I show it you like this, if you run it through dead straight like that, you'll find when it hits the rollers it will jump, and this might not cut this edge here. All you need to do to prevent that happening is twist it slightly on the wonk, and that way the rollers can take that more easily. They don't struggle quite so badly with it if you do that. Just let me make myself some room. I'm disappearing behind a mountain of stuff here. I'm glad you can't see me. Oh dear. Right, so let me whiz this through the machine. So this will also show you how it cuts when you don't use the inner panel with it. So it's always good to have the visual, isn't it? Right. So, covered in glitter. So there we've got a plain square centre, but those little dots have all embossed around that frame. Can you see them? Isn't that pretty? So that could be a panel for absolutely anything. So don't dismiss the fact that you haven't used the trellis, it doesn't matter. But I am going to use the trellis, but I'm not going to cut it this time. What I'm going to do this time is I'm actually going to emboss it. So I'm putting it face down on the right side of the card, so it's facing the card, and I'm going to tape it in place because again I don't want it to move while it's going through the machine. Okay, then I'm going to turn that over, and then onto that I'm going to put my rubber mat. Now my rubber mat isn't big enough, but if I start there and I'm going to put it through the machine, I'm going to emboss as much of it as I can, and then I'm just going to turn it round and emboss the rest. That's my plate gone west. So if you see what I'm doing now, I can just turn it round. It's nearly done all of it, but there's a little bit here that it hasn't done. So I'm just going to put this end in the machine first and send it through again. And then that will have embossed that pattern rather than cutting it. And again, I've said this before, you can do this with absolutely any die. You just have to test out the pressure on your machine and make sure that the cutting edge of that blade, of that die, is not facing the rubber mat. It should never be facing the rubber mat because that will cut into it. So always make sure that the cutting side of the die is facing the cardstock, and then the rubber mat goes on the other side. So the cardstock is sandwiched between the die and the rubber mat. And that's how you can emboss with any die. Can you see that? It's lovely, isn't it? So that gives your dies another lease of life. And I hope you'll go and experiment with some of the ones you have to see what you can achieve, because they can be really pretty. And if you like inking, you can certainly ink over that if you wanted to enhance it a little bit more. That is another effect that you could achieve. Okay, so that's one panel done. Now this panel is again going to involve some stippling. Well, I'm not going to do it all because you've seen me do it, and it does take a little while, but I'll just get it started. I've got one already done, and this is because I wanted to match my colours. Whenever I want to match my colours, I tend to do some sort of technique where I can create a border on one of the mats and layers, and then everything mixes and matches perfectly well. So for this one, I'm going to bring in the green 3D pearl effect, and I'm going to team it up with the gold, so the Heliodor gemstones glitter. Okie doke. So again, just squeeze a little bit onto the card, straight onto the card, and then stipple. Now I tend to do this in sections because when you're doing this with the 3D pearl effects, it dries really quickly. So I'm going to add my glitter to this as I go. I don't want a lot. I'll try not to overdo it. So I'm just tapping. And then I just want a really, really gentle sprinkle. I don't want it to take over. And then you can carry on and do the next section. I wouldn't try to do it all at once. Just do a little bit at a time and just keep going. It's not like ink, it won't leave a tide mark where you cross over, but it does dry pretty rapidly. So just do small sections and you'll be fine. But because it's a glue, of course, it will hold this glitter when it dries perfectly well. And there's nothing, I've tapped it, there's nothing coming off, it's already held. Can you see that now? And that's how I make a border that's going to match the rest of the project. Okay, brush into water, lids on everything. Oh, I'll end up wearing it, I always do. And then I've done exactly the same thing on one of the large swirls. So I've got this one, and I've stippled it with the green, sprinkled on the gold, and that's the result. So this is going to be part of the main focal point for my card. I do have a lot of the layers already done. So, well, I did have. I seem to have lost them. Sorry. Here we are. So, there we go. I've got that stippled and glittered edge. I've then teamed it up with a piece of gold mirror. And then I have my embossed and cut square. And again, using these fantastic gems, I just need a few to finish that off. So I've used this fantastic emerald green colour. Oh, it's beautiful. It's so rich. In fact, it's not even like emerald. It's more like a teal. It's stunning. I really love it. And for the price of these gems, the effect they give looks very expensive. I think that's super. Okay, so there we have our panels already mounted. This is an 8x8 card. And I'm ready now to work on the focal point. So as I say, I have got my flourish, and that's going to sit at the top, and then I'm going to hang my baubles from it. So I've got some baubles ready made, but I just want to show you how to do this double layered effect. Because yes, I could stick them together and then try and cut round the edge of this one, but there's an easier way to actually get it more accurate. So I have here a piece of white card and a piece of gold card, and I want the gold on the front and the white on the back, and then I'm going to put these through the machine together. So it will cut the gold card, but it won't cut the white card. It will simply emboss it, but because the edge is quite a smooth shape, it will probably cut the outside edge enough that I can release it. So let's have a look. I'll whiz this through the machine. So both pieces of card are in place. So it's a one-step process. You don't need to do one and then the other. And then we can see it's cut through both of them. But it won't have cut through all the fine detail. Because it can't cope with two thick layers of card. Alright, so the top layer, the gold layer, if you just flex it slightly, you'll be able to get them separated. And then you can see that all the gold bits will pop out. That's cut beautifully, but the white bit hasn't, because it's just too thick. Possibly if you did this with a thinner weight of card, it would potentially cut into some of it. But I'm using Jamie's 300 GSM white card, so there's a good thickness there, and it's coped with that really, really well. That's not cut right through at all. You can always tell when a die is not cut right through because the lines are kind of cloudy. If it's actually cut, then they're going to be crisp. So that's a good way to tell if your die is cutting properly as well. And then all you need to do is glue these together. So I'm going to bring back that little blending mat and some dry as clear glue, and I'm going to use that pouncing method to get the glue on the back of the gold bauble, and then I can attach the two together. And because that's all embossed as well, it's really easy to place it properly and line everything up, and it just sits really well into those little embossed details, so there's no difficulty lining it up. It goes together perfectly. Just give it a little rub from the back so that everything's secure, and there you have your double layered bauble in a really simple way. So I think that's top tip, and that's how I've created the baubles, whoops, for this card. So let's have a look where we're at now. Okay, so I've got my beautiful swirl and I have the two baubles, and I want to just add them onto this, and I've done that by actually threading them. So I went through there and swung that round. Obviously I've attached it with glue, but you have to get them on first, and then through there, and just swing that round, and then you can decide where you want them. You can move them up or down. You can change the angle of this, so you can set that exactly as you want it. Swing your 2 baubles, get that how you like it, and then attach everything to the card, and then add your gems. I've used the same green, but I've also brought in the 6mm because this particular swirl has got some spots for a larger size. So again, just pick and choose where you want those to go. Well, you don't have to pick and choose where they go. You've got little circles that tell you where they go. So those are the larger ones, aren't they beautiful? And then dot the little ones around as well to complete your swirl. And then the only other thing I've done is I've used one of Jamie's lovely sentiments with its label shape with the pierced edging. And this one has 2 little holly cutouts and 3 little dots. So what I've done, I've put a tiny piece of card along the back, and I've added foam tape to this. I'm just going to stick this to the card, and then I decided to do a mad thing and use the Pearl 3D accents to fill in the holly leaves. Try and get that in the middle. Okay. Now this is, it might be useful to have a little cocktail stick or something so that you can push the pearl into the corners of the holly leaves, but these have got a really fine nozzle. I actually found them quite straightforward to do. So I just squeeze very, very gently, make contact with the card underneath. This one's not behaving. Luckily I have another. And don't do as I do, but do test it out before you go to your project to make sure it's not got air in it. There we go. Alright, and then I know it's hard to see and my hand's in the way, it's really tricky, but I'm just squeezing into that little holly shape and I'm just filling in that little area. Okay, and just sort of, what I'm doing, I'm sort of almost using the nozzle like a paintbrush and just pushing it into the little corners. So do that with both of them, and then just to show how perfectly controllable these are, I've got the red, and you can do the tiniest dots with these. Honestly, these are tiny little dots, and I can be that accurate because the nozzle on these is so good and the consistency is so good. I just need to get it going first before I take it to my card. Okay, and then I'm just going to hover over that little spot and do a tiny dot, and that is how controllable these 3D pearl effects are. They're absolutely brilliant. So I don't know whether you can see that, just about. It's a little holly leaf, obviously do the other holly leaf, and 3 little berries, and here's the finished article. So all those little bits and pieces coming together, and there we have the holly done in the 3D pearl effects. If you really aren't up for doing that, there's nothing to stop you cutting this again in some coloured card and just paper piecing those leaves back in some green card. No reason why you shouldn't. But there we go. And I didn't gem these baubles because I felt they didn't need it, but they have got that lovely embossed detail. So you could add gems if you wanted to. I felt they didn't need it on this occasion. So there we are. That's my second card. So some lucky person, well, you might not think you're lucky, but somebody could win the 2 cards I've made in tonight's live. And the question I wanted you to think about was, what did I say was one of my favourite things to do? And I did it on the first card that I showed you, which was this one. It was something I did on this card, and I said it was one of my things. It was one of my sort of quirks, if you like, that I always like to do. So that was the question. What was one of my favourite little things to do that I seem to do a lot of? And if somebody's got that answer, we will have a winner. We will pick one at random, and if you can please message the page and give us your address, let us know if you'd like the card signing or not, and we will get that sorted. Now obviously I'm going away on Sunday, so it might be the week after next before I get them posted out to you, but they will arrive at some point. So yeah, have a go and good luck. All right, well, it's been absolutely wonderful tonight. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see what's coming next. I will be back a week on Thursday with some new goodies. In the meantime, you have the pleasure of Jamie twice next week, Monday and Thursday, 7 p.m. on the Creative Expressions page. Please don't wander to the Jamie Rogers Crafts page. We are no longer bringing you the lives on that page. So please try to remember to find Creative Expressions. This is the new home of Jamie Rogers Crafts and all the other exciting things that are coming. Thank you all for your good wishes, and I wish you well. I will see you very soon. Take care. Lots of love. Bye.